morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, I'm Professor Golden, and this is Dr. Perkins. And along with the cultural science faculty and staff, we'd like to welcome you to our first focus group regarding students. Your opinion is important to us, and we want to hear what you have to say. Now, we have several questions we want you to answer with your honest opinion. We have a lot of staff as well as faculty here that are going to listen to your opinion for the next 50 minutes to an hour. Okay, so we're going to take the first question that we have. Okay, can you see this? Okay, we know that students choose several pathways of support that lead to student success. Can you identify which practices or strategies that you have had that most impact your success at Mesa Community College? Some examples of student orientation, taking the student success course, learning community assessment and placement, tutoring, academic goal setting and planning, early registration and late start classes. Does anybody want to open this up, get us started? Now, some of you guys in here I know by name, some of you my former students, I don't want to have to call on you, because you know I like to engage students.
Early registration, I think, is huge because it helps you get your classes together so you get your schedule together instead of signing up late where you have to pick. It's like slim pickings pretty much on where you're going to be in the class, what time you have class, and it has to work around your work schedule, family, things like that.
Okay, when you say early registration, are you talking about a month? Are you talking about immediately after classes start?
I did it right after classes started.
Okay, all right, meaning as soon as the registration window opens.
Yes.
That's what you mean?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Jones, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I'm a psychology student. I go to the psych lab over there. I don't know if most people have been in there. And there's computers available, there's printers available, people to help me. And I believe they need to have a sociology cultural lab, the same thing, where students who are in there are all focused and the people working are focused on a particular topic. And so when I go there, we're all in the same psychology state of mind, and I get a lot of resources there. There are movies, there are films, things that I can get. And the other thing is, I think you have to pick a teacher. When I first started here, Mona Scott, Dr. Perkins, you, I think you have to find a teacher that you can bond with. Just like in real life, you got to find someone you can bond with that you can go to and say, this teacher's not treating me a certain way, or I need more out of school. I think the teacher and a lab setting where I can go and concentrate on sociology would be really helpful.
Okay. Christella, you had your hand up. Go ahead, Christella.
So as I think about practices and strategies that have led to the most impact to my success here, I talk about this all the time, but it's definitely networking. Not only networking, but not only networking, but finding mentors that believe in you, I think is key. A lot of times as students we could get discouraged, and it's really nice to have a mentor there to say, hey, I see myself in you. So sometimes we could get discouraged, and it's crucial that we have a good support system. So I've tried to make a lot of contacts while I'm here, professional for academic growth, professional growth, and personal growth. But mentors and connecting with people is one of the most important things that have made me successful. Also, whenever I pick my classes, then I go to ratemyprofessor.com. I also speak with the teacher that I'm contemplating taking their class. So it's almost like an interview process. Where I pick 4 or 5 candidates that I believe are suitable, and then I will ask them more in-depth questions to get an idea of their views and perspectives on student learning. Something that I like to always tell my mentors to do is to try to pick a professor that you share a passion with or cultural identity with, or something like that, because it helps us really connect with students. And I feel like that teachers that are either from a gender minority or an a cultural minority, they understand our obstacles as students of color. And I think that they, without even letting them know our barriers, they know, and I think that's very, very powerful.
Okay. Is there anyone else that wants to? Yes, ma'am.
I think one thing that helps a lot for me personally is the small class sizes.
Okay.
I know people who go to ASU, and especially in the entry-level classes, there's like 300 students.
Right.
And that makes it really difficult to connect with your professor and learn if you need help. So I like that here. The most students I have in one class is probably like 40 people.
Okay.
Another thing is I'm in a biology class, human anatomy, and the biology lab helps a lot. They have all the slides and models that you can go and look at, which helps a lot for like practicals because you can actually see what you're going to be looking at for the test.
So what you're saying is 40 is at the max.
Yeah, like
Max.
for me personally, and out of all of my classes, that's the class that has the most students.
Okay, so 40 at the max. And that's a good point, all the good points, okay? Question number 2, according to recent data, 60% of students at Mesa Community College test into at least one developmental education class. In your experience, share how having to take a developmental class has affected your ability to complete your degree. All right, Christella, get us rocking and rolling.
I've taken some developmental classes, and something that has helped complete my degree is I think that it really gave a strong foundation for skill set that we're going to use in the future. It's allowing us to think critically about information that we lack. And so again, that is giving us a strong foundation of academic skills that we're going to use in the future. That's going to lead us to our degree, whether it be a master's, a PhD, or an associate's degree.
What strategies or in-classroom techniques can best be utilized to help you be successful at MCC? Hold on, Christella. This young lady. Yes, ma'am.
I feel like all of my professors, I must have done good because I feel like they all have a real steady pace. Like I'm happy I chose the schedule I did, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I have all my classes in a row. I feel like that helps me a lot because I know, it's working at a steady pace. I don't have to worry about classes one day and then 3 different classes the next day. It's all the same. And I feel like that really helps me to achieve and to be able to complete all my work and get those great grades that I'm striving for.
Okay, so you're saying a Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
Yes, I feel like something that's linear in a sense. That way you're able to have that steady pace and you're not always...
You can breathe.
Yes.
Okay, and it cuts down the stress level, lowers the high blood pressure,
Yes.
if you have some. Okay, all right. Christella, you had your hand up?
Yeah, some of the techniques that that I think are like make or break a great teacher from an okay teacher is the ability to adapt their teaching styles and their material to the students. Something that I've seen with a lot of the really good professors that I've had is they focus more on the learning process as opposed to the analytical, how do people test. As we all know, some people test really well, but some people don't. And so I've seen some teachers that they are more focused on getting through the material as opposed to the learning process, making sure every student, or at least 80 or 90%, whatever their goal is, are understanding the material.
Anyone else want to share? Ms. Jones?
We've talked about it in your classes. The seating seems to be a really big issue for me. When I'm at a round table and I can look across and see another student's face, their body language, see the way their body changes and they get uncomfortable with what we're talking about. I need to see that in a classroom. There are students that are I'm in a class that has 100 people. My my Psych 101 class has 100 people. And there's all these rows of people, and I don't have any connection. I don't know anybody's name. I could pass them in the hallway and not know them. So I think we need to build a community setting in the classroom I don't think people sit around their house at home in rows behind each other and yell, "Mom, can I have the butter?" We sit around and we face each other and we have body language. The other thing is the name recognition. Dr. Call puts little name tags the first 2 weeks, and I can look over and say, "Oh, that's Robert," or "That's Christelle," and I feel like I'm getting to know these people. And the other thing is testing. I had a class, this girl was a classic example. She was on her phone the entire semester, but she would study really hard and pass all the tests. And I got an A because I read the chapters and I paid attention and I took notes and I went to the psych lab. And then I sit there and go, why has she got a higher grade than me? Because she's beating the system. She's passing all the tests, which doesn't tell whether you got the material. It tells that you studied for a test. So I think we need to focus exactly what you're talking about. Focus on learning and getting an education. A degree is a wonderful thing, but there are people out there running this country that have degrees and don't have an education. I would like most of these people to get an education before they leave with a degree. Thank you.
Statistics reflect that students who test below college level and are engaged in a mentoring program are more likely to be successful. Do you, the student, think that a mentoring program aimed at college success would help improve college retention and success rates of students? Stella?
I think the mentoring program is absolutely amazing. I've actually had the opportunity to be involved with the mentoring program here on campus. It's absolutely amazing. I not only mentored students, but then the next semester I was able to train mentors on how to deal with students, and I just think that the mentoring program overall is boosting the success rates of students. I know that the last few semesters it's kind of not been in the works, but technically on campus we do have one, the Ally for Student Success. And everything that we did with the mentees throughout the semester was geared at college success from the very first day of class, from the very last day of class, whenever we would walk students to their classrooms before getting them prepared, things like that. All that is building a guide to help you with your education, which is amazing. So I fully support the mentoring program. It's awesome.
Okay. Now, mentors could be faculty, they could be staff. Can they be other students?
Of course. Of course, I think that other students and peers make awesome mentors. In an instance that I've seen, sometimes whenever educators communicate with their students, then it's that relationship of educator and student. But sometimes whenever students interact, then we could just, we talk to each other in a more simpler way. And sometimes it's just easy to understand, like whenever a peer puts it in layman's terms.
Anyone else? Ms. Jones?
I had heat stroke a year ago, burned up my hippocampus, and I lost my memory, and I had a lot of personal problems. And I ended up mentoring by proxy, I guess you'd say. I chose Dr. Call. He was a clinical psychologist for 30 years. And there was an incident I had, total mentor program. I was in the psych lab and I was typing a paper and the electricity went down on campus and I lost the paper. And I had a total panic attack meltdown and I went to Dr. Call and said, I'm dropping out of school, I'm done, because the paper won't print and I can't handle it. And at that point I realized I am having health and emotional issues. What do I do? Who do I call? And I chose to go in his office and I bonded with him. And from that day forth, I realized if I had to go to this gentleman next to me and say, I'm having a meltdown today, and I know it's not logical, the printer's not working, he would easily be that student we're talking about and say, you're not being rational. And I think we don't get an education before we get to college that this young man can help me. That someone walking past me I can go to and say, I'm having a bad day. And we don't reach out. We're not taught that. I think we're taught to be, I sit here, he sits here, he's a student, I'm a student, and we're not taught that we're in this together. And I think I have to choose people every day that are in the same vein as me, We're all going to school here. We're all working on the same thing. But I don't think we're taught that in high school. I don't think we're taught that in elementary school, and I think we need to teach that in college. That the biggest mentor is maybe someone who's got 2 years on you and has been through the same class as you. And you see them walking with the book that matches what you're studying, ask a few questions. I think we have to teach people to be more of a community-minded. Mentoring doesn't have to be a teacher. It could be the janitor here. It could be anybody. And I think that's an important part of our society. We're not learning in college. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else regarding mentoring? Who doesn't have a mentor in this classroom? Okay, we need to change that. Individuals that don't have a mentor in this classroom, ask yourself, what are you studying? What are you majoring? Then find the people that are majoring in what you major in. As Ms. Jones stated, and Christella stated, they've been through the process. That's going to help you get through this. You're not going to get through this on your own. And one of my keys and points is networking. Networking is very important. It'll help you get through life. Okay. Which leads me to question number 5. You talked about barriers. What barriers do you encounter at MCC that prevent you from being successful? What barriers that prevent you from being successful here at MCC? I want you to think about what barriers. Okay, I don't want to feed you. I want you to tell us. I want you to tell us as faculty, staff, what barriers prevent you from being successful here at MCC? I don't want to give you examples. I want you to give us, tell us. This is about you. Ms. Christella, go ahead.
Some of the barriers that I've encountered here at MCC, unfortunately, some of the barriers that I have encountered here at MCC, unfortunately, are staff members that do not have the best interest at heart of the student. Sometimes we encounter faculty that do not want to help us solve a problem, that make us feel like we're bothering them because we need help with the problem. And sometimes that could even be more overwhelming. A lot of students feel powerless. Sometimes I've had to politely challenge some of the staff and ask them, would you treat me the same way if Dr. Pearson or Dr. Pan or Sasan was standing right here? I challenge you to that. And I kindly remind them that our tuition pays their salary and that their job description is based around the student and student success. So unfortunately, sometimes there are faculty members that don't have our best interests at heart. But we have to shake it off and you know, if we need to go on that ladder and see who's above them and make a complaint, because a lot of times we don't know the hierarchy and we feel powerless and we don't complain, and then sometimes if we don't complain, then there's not going to be any change made. And so collectively we have to give feedback to the upper management to let them know how their staff's doing. Otherwise they're just going to think that they're doing a fabulous job and everything is perfect whenever it's absolutely not.
Anyone else? Barriers?
I believe testing is a barrier for me, and I go to the testing center, and I tell students all the time, you need to go to the testing center if you have some of the issues I do. I have a hard time when I'm testing and people are coming in and dropping their backpack and, do you have a pencil? Do you have a Scantron? I mean, that total disorganized classroom thing doesn't work for me. So I go to the testing center, and I think it's a really great place. I'm in a cubicle, I'm by myself, it's quiet, I have no books, no backpack, no water bottles, and I'm concentrating on my test. Without the testing center, I believe I would have probably had a lot more trouble with testing. The other problem is exactly what she's talking about, staff. There are people on this campus that get paid every day and they don't work. They just show up in the classroom, they throw something at you. I have a teacher right now, I have about 14 handouts, but I couldn't tell you what is going on in that classroom. handing out pieces of paper and saying, read this, fill this out, and bring it back on Monday. That's not getting it. We have no discussions in the classroom. Those things are barriers to me. I need to have a lively discussion. I need to hear what other people think about subjects. So that is one of the biggest barriers, are the teachers, the staff. Sometimes I think the custodial help at school is as helpful as some of these teachers. I can go to them and just say good morning and they speak to me. And there are teachers here that you say good morning, could you help me with something exactly like you said? And I feel like I am putting them out. They're not here to give me an education, they're here to get paid. And that makes me feel like that's a big barrier when I have a teacher that's not working on my behalf. It's a big barrier for me.
Anyone else in here? Oh, yep, young man?
I find that a big barrier that I have is myself. I like to put myself down a lot, which has been very detrimental to my success here in college. So yeah, it's just putting myself down.
Yourself.
Yeah, I am. My
Say that louder so everyone can hear you.
I am my own barrier.
Okay, yourself. Okay. We're gonna have to work with you and make sure we deal with yourself, okay?
Okay.
Because you're smarter than folks on television, trust me. Okay. Anyone else think about barriers? This young man, we got, okay, hold on, you late.
I feel like sometimes barriers can be, you know, outside sources from school. Like you work a full-time job, you know, you get laid off, or you have a death in the family, something. There could be a million things happening outside of school that really puts you out and puts you in a bad position, because you're not finishing that paper, you're missing that day to take that test, you're not getting all your work done when it needs to be done on time, and that's, you know, a huge setback. That's letting you fall down on your face when you're already struggling out in the world. So I feel like my biggest barriers are probably outside of school, not necessarily anything in school. My professors are great. You know, I try to do my work to the best of my ability.
So you're saying external, outside of MCC. You got somebody in the back that has a barrier she wants to share with herself outside of MCC.
Well, mine was pretty much hers, just outside barriers. I work full-time and I go to school full-time, and sometimes it's a struggle. It's
When you
hard.
getting rest?
I don't. Yeah. It's a struggle. That's what mine is.
Okay. All right. Young man?
A barrier for me would be like some of my teachers, I need them to be like really extroverted, because if I have like a quiet like teachers like, oh, do this and do that, I'm not really like into the discussion as much, so I need someone like who's like me basically.
Kind of to go off of what she said earlier about how classrooms you see row by row, almost looks like an Excel spreadsheet sometimes, and I think as a student it seems like a facade. You know, you're told your whole life that you need to go through school, work, get the education to get whatever career that you fancy. And yeah, when you come to school sometimes, though, it seems so black and white and blah, and not really up to par. Of course, it is what you make out of it. But I think that's kind of hard sometimes getting over, and it was kind of in reference to how she said with classrooms and how they're designed. Sometimes it just seems fake in its own regard, sometimes, depending. But I mean, of course, that's your own barrier, and it also comes down to it's also yourself, though, too, to a degree. That's all I have to say.
Okay, we have a question answer in the back in response to that. So we're getting external and self and staff and faculty. Yes, ma'am.
My barriers is when I'm in class, all of them American people, because I'm an international student. So if I want to connect another the student in class, I can't, because I'm shy to talk to him, and you know, I can't, like, sometimes I can't understand the professor and something like that. This is my grades.
There are several factors that drive student success. Some examples are motivation, dedication, student engagement, preparation, and participation. What have been the most significant factors that have helped you in being successful at MCC? What is the most significant? Yeah, buzz right here.
Well, like I personally, I'm in the honors program here at MCC, and I know I have to keep like a strict GPA, so I can never fall too behind in my classes, and I always have to do like all the worksheets. And even though I don't really pay for my college education because the scholarship that they give me pays for it, I know that if I don't work hard, it can be taken away and I can have to pay that. So it just kind of drives me to do that. Also, I'm trying to get into the dental hygiene program, and they look for, you know, there's so many people applying for it, and so I have to find ways to stand out. And I think I can do that with like grading and like showing them that I try really hard, so that they can accept me into the program.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
So one thing that has helped me be successful here is when I turned 18, I went to college immediately after high school, and then I moved out of my mom's house, and you know, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna work full time and drop out of school, and you know, I thought that that's what I wanted to do. So it was a little late for me to drop out of my classes. I got F's in a lot of them, and I had a very low GPA. And when I came back to meet with an advisor, I didn't feel judged, you know, like that I had failed. So I think that that's very important for people to feel, even if they didn't do good in the past, you're here now and you're trying, and that helped me a lot.
Okay. Change the language in reference to what you said about that word fail. Just say you had a temporary setback.
Yeah.
All right? Just change that language. Sometimes we have to change the language. Ms. Jones?
Yesterday in class, I didn't mention this, but you had talked about the outside obstacles that can make us unsuccessful. I was 30 years old and I had a 1-year-old son, and I was trying to go to college, and my husband brought the baby in a baby carriage and rolled it in front of my desk, and the teacher said, that's fine, he can stay today. And my husband said in front of the whole class, no, she's dropping out of school today. So I got up and left him there, and 30 years later, here I am, 60 years old, going to college, because I made up my mind that that 30 years wasn't wasted. I lived my life, raised my kids, but I realized that when you make up your mind, I don't care if you're 30 or you're 60, you make up your mind that this is what you're going to do, you will make it a success. You know, my car blew up in the desert, and I lost 5 days of school. I'm riding the bus 2.5 hours from Scottsdale every day to Red Mountain and 2 classes at Mesa, and I'm late because of a bus, not because of my own actions. So I try to dedicate myself to whatever it takes to get here every day, sit in that seat, do what I gotta do. And I hear kids complain, I'm in my Mazda 6 and Taco Bell made me late because there was too many cars in the drive-thru. And I just go, really? Is that your dedication to your education? So I think people have to just wake up, like this young man said, I was my worst enemy. I should have said, roll that right back out of here. I'm not dropping out of school. But I didn't. I didn't stand up for myself. Teachers are going to throw things at me. They did. I just accept that you're going to have people like Dr. Perkins, you're going to have Professor Golden, and they're going to turn your whole thinking process, your whole mindset is going to change, and you're going to speak up for yourself, and you're going to be able to hold this mic in your hand in front of all these people and speak your mind and not be worried what other people think, because I can think. And when I'm in Professor Golden's class or Dr. Perkins' class, I can talk about gender issues, I can talk about racism, I can talk about powerful issues and feel that I'm part of a growing society at 60 years old that you guys are going to mold. So I think you have to start now dedicating yourself to your success, because nobody else is going to care about your success more than you. And that's just my opinion.
Ms. Costello?
Some of the factors that have helped me be successful at MCC, so oddly enough, I think my obstacles have helped me become successful. We're all here for a common goal. We want to get a degree, right? But I think even more on a more basic level, everybody is here at school because they don't want to live in poverty. We are all here because we want to make a better life for ourselves, and we don't want to live in poverty. So everybody has obstacles that they have overcome, and for me, instead of letting that become a crutch, then I have used that to my advantage, and that creates the fire in my belly for that gives me my passion. So not only am I like, I'm not going to live in poverty, I'm like, I want to have a much better life for myself and for my daughters. And so for me, my obstacles turn into the most significant factors of being successful at MCC.
Your life experiences sometimes can be your motivator.
So I guess the most significant factors, I should say. One would be the teachers I've had, if they're really like engaging with the class, if they're really nice, if they like kind of like, help you as, you go through the semester. That always helps out because, they kind of care. They're not there just to get a paycheck or whatever. And then the second one is, for me, it's that I work 2 really shitty jobs.
That's how you really feel.
I work at the AutoZone over there down on 8th Ave, and it's not fun. I only get paid $8.93 an hour while doing like mildly labor intensive stuff. And then I also work at a really shitty call center where we just call up people and like do surveys and whatnot. And I know there's some people that actually work in the same call center I do. I'm not gonna point them out or anything, but like we get so much shit thrown into our way. It's like, it's not even worth it. And then I also see some people that are like in their like mid-30s and 40s, and they kind of make it as their living. But this job doesn't have like benefits, it doesn't have sick pay or vacation pay. And they like force you to also work on at least one weekend, like one day out of the weekend. And for me, that's not fun. I don't want to like live like that. Like imagine you want to take a weekend off, but you can't because your job's making you work on freaking Saturday or Sunday where nobody's coming to pick up their phone or they're gonna get mad at you because you just want them to do a survey. And it's like,
so that should be your motivator.
Yeah, like I don't want to work in that shitty job for the rest of my life. Like right now as it stands, it's okay because I still live with my folks. I'm getting a decent amount of pay for to pay my tuition. I'm all right, but I don't want to be 28 and still working there.
Okay.
That's pretty much my main factor.
All right.
You're welcome.
Answer that question. The biggest thing I can say that contributes to my success, I think, is my 4 years in the Marine Corps. And the reason why is I remember thinking back, going through it, thinking it was, again, just the shittiest life ever. Like, all the time being told what to do, can never do, always having people banging on your door saying, get the fuck out, come clean this head right now. Stuff like that. Sorry, apologize for language. But anyways, moving on. Looking back on it, though, I don't know, I smile on it, though. It was a fun time. Learned a lot from that time. And I got out. It was a little bit of a different transition, going from full active duty military life to, life here in Tempe. And I didn't really know what to do with myself for a while. And, spend too much time in your head, I think, it's not good for you. And after that, though, just going through a year working at a call center, doing similar routine, I just realized there's so much, we spend a lot of time being tired, and we have so much stuff, Netflix, all this stuff being thrown at us to, spend our free time on. But when I look back on it, even though I was enjoying that time, it seemed like in the present more, it's so boring, though. And so as for what I apply to myself now, as tired as I get, and of course it doesn't always work through. Sometimes we're all just going to sleep and take a nap. It's going to happen. but is if you can slack as slow as you want, you can also work just as hard as that in opposite. It's like, why not? Life is what you make it.
How many of you students have an academic counselor or success coach here at MCC? Ms. Costello, you do. Okay. Show of hands. Raise your hand if you got an academic counselor or success coach. There should be more hands going up in this room. There should be more hands going up in this room. So you're telling me that the rest of you guys that don't have your hands, keep your hands up. The rest of you guys in this room that don't have an academic counselor or success coach, okay, we need to change this. Okay. How many you got this? Okay. 10. No. 10? Okay, we got to change that. Because we want you guys to be successful. Okay. We have to. And we're going to. One thing is saying we have to do it. No, we're going to do it. We're going to make sure this happens sooner than later. Okay. What classes, faculty, or staff have assisted you in determining what area of study you pursue?
So being a part of the veteran community, a lot of the fire science teachers, they actually understand us going from active duty to the civilian life, and becoming a firefighter has helped me. All those professors, majority of them either were in the military or understand military life because they live that life at the fire department.
Okay. Anyone else?
Going along with what he said, I'm in the fire science program as well, and one of my professors, Chief Case, he's a chief for the Phoenix Fire Department. He really helped me understand the difficulty of being a firefighter and the sacrifice that you have to do to get there, and that just really got me to fall more in love with the idea of that career. So he really assisted me in helping me determine that's what I want to do.
Anyone else? Reference to classes, faculty, Ms. Costello?
So I've done research in different areas, not only picking my classes and choosing which faculty to speak with regarding my career choices. I've also been to career services and done some exploration in that sense to see what I would naturally be good in, or what I would naturally enjoy doing.
I truly believe that I'm so much into sociology because of like the gender discussions I had in Dr. Perkins' class. Every class that you've taught, Professor Golden, I've taken them, and I think that's what steered me to sociology. But somewhere along the line, I took a psychology class with Dr. Collin, and I found for me that you can't study sociology without studying psychology. I think they kind of go hand in hand. So that's how I ended up, and I balanced between the two. I couldn't say right now which area of study I would probably go furthest in. I just know that a teacher like you or Dr. Perkins or Mona Scott, you steer me in the direction of where I need to go as an individual, not telling me, oh, you should go into sociology because you're really good. It opened up my mind that sociology is a study of sports and human sexuality and all these things you teach, but also I think if you study archery and painting and ceramics and you suddenly discover I'm an artist, that's wonderful. But if you don't take any classes and really expand your mind, you'll never know what you're good at. And I think every one of the sociology teachers in this school are excellent teachers. And all the psych teachers, they've either worked in that field or they've just been teaching long enough that I have been steered into an avenue of study that is based on me. Not based on the curriculum, based on me. I've taken some of your classes twice because I want the education also, not just that degree. So I think sometimes take a ceramics class, take a textiles class, take some classes that expand your mind, because I'm a ceramic artist and I didn't know I was. I took a ceramics class and discovered I'm a great ceramic artist. But that's not where the money is, like you said. I'm never going to make a living selling mugs at a fair. So you just kind of have to be practical, but you have to also treat yourself like I am a commodity, and how can I sell myself to the world? Thank you.
Did you experience some kind of marketing strategy that was aimed at getting you to obtain financial aid?
I guess basically the marketing strategy that I was like fed into was way into high school, where like, oh hey, you know, you're about to graduate, go to college, you know, and if you don't have any help, well, you can apply for FAFSA. And I thought, oh okay, well I'll do that. I slacked off on it obviously. And then when I did get around to doing it, I was approved, but for loans. And I'm all like, no, I don't think so. Last thing I want to do is pay this off despite having no job, or having a job that pays me very little. And that was basically one of the gimmicks or ploys they tried to do to get me to get financial aid.
In my experience, I didn't feel that there was some type of marketing strategy. There was definitely mentors that came from MCC to our high school, like how the last gentleman communicated. But for me, I mean, I think that there probably was some indirect marketing, but I didn't see it because I was just so thankful to obtain financial aid. So I don't see it with like a negative connotation as far as the marketing strategy of it. I'm sure it's there, but I just don't feel that way in my particular situation.
As an international student, what are some of the obstacles or challenges you have encountered regarding student success at MCC? What are some of the obstacles? This is your opportunity to share with us some of the obstacles that you encounter as an international student. How many international students do we have in this? Raise your hand. International students. So what are some of the obstacles that you guys encounter? Is it language? I don't want to put words in your mouth. Is it language? Is it professors? Is it other students? What is it? The ones that raise their hand. Is it like this young lady said, shyness? Anyone? I can't. Language? Is that all? Language?
Because some people talk fast.
Wait a minute, give me the mic. Okay, so we can hear you. Let everybody know how intelligent you are.
Because some people like talk fast and they can't hear like exactly what you say, and they didn't understand what you said. You know.
Do I talk fast?
Yeah.
I'll slow down. For you. Okay. All right. I have to slow myself down. This is what this is about. It's about your opinion. So I got to slow myself down. But sometimes you got to let us know. If we're talking too fast, let us know. We'll slow ourselves down. Because sometimes I'm hyped, I'm excited. Like right now, I'm fired up, I'm ready to go. And you got to let me know. And I always say, if I'm moving too fast, slow me down. Okay? Is there anything other than language, shyness? Anyone else? I don't want to call nobody out. I engage students. Okay, don't let me get your name. Right? I got a good memory. Nothing else. You got the mic. Oh, you got. Yes, sir.
I think the biggest challenging for me is the new classes and experience for me to get to college, from school to the college, and the different experience too is different culture and everything.
So new classes, culture, being around students, new students, it's a different environment. We call it a sociology, we call it a culture shock. And all of us experience this. So this is nothing unusual. And that's why networking is important. Once you start networking, you find out that other people experience the same thing you experience, it makes the process, the matriculation at MCC a lot easier. And that's the most important thing. Now for you guys in here, going back to one of the questions regarding obstacles and trying to get a success coach and all that good stuff, when you take a class, if you connect with that instructor, they might not be in your discipline of study, but since you have a connection with that instructor, what you do is you utilize that instructor's intelligence and they can help you get through it. And if they can't help you, they'll link you up with somebody else that can. Okay? And that's what you have to do. That's all the questions that I have for you. You guys have any questions for us? We are here to help you as faculty, as staff. Okay? You can help each other as students as well. Yes, sir.
Where do I go to find a success coach or academic?
Okay, I'm gonna ask you, that's a good question. Okay, what is your discipline area?
I'm not really sure. I know I just
Okay.
picked up some classes again this semester.
Okay, you have, you're taking classes. Have you connected with any of your instructors that you feel comfortable with?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay.
I really enjoy my professors that I have right now. So
that's a start right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm pretty sure that one of those instructors, if not all of them, will be able to assist you in finding the right success coach, or they might be your success coach. Okay. Trust me, it's happened to my students.
yeah, my biggest problem is just reaching out.
Okay, that's the hardest thing. They haven't told you no yet, have they?
You know,
There you
I haven't
go.
asked the question.
There you go. Once they tell you no, then you can move on to somebody else. If they haven't told you no, then you ask. Okay. We can't read your mind. We can try, but it's going to be difficult. But there's a start. Connect with the professors that you have, and then you just go from there. It's a step-by-step process. Okay. And then once you start connecting with them, look out. You got another person?
Yeah, I don't know if I need to mic, I'm pretty loud, but I thought I'd help answer the question if that's okay. I am a staff member and I am the Director of Advising and Career. So I just want to let you guys know some options out there for getting mentors and success coaches that are available to you. Some of you may know, some of you may not. Connect for Success is a program that connects you with faculty and staff. If you don't know who to talk to or haven't connected with somebody, you can go to the Success Center and talk to the person that coordinates that. And depending on room or whatever the case may be, they will connect you with somebody that you'll meet with frequently. Also in that same building, the success coaches who work specifically with advising students that have tested into what we call foundations courses or developmental ed classes, and their title is success coach, and also general advising in the enrollment center. If you meet with them, you don't know who to talk to, you don't know where to start. They are very knowledgeable about all the resources on campus, so I want to encourage you to go out and talk to them and have an initial conversation, because that can really help you find that right person.
Thank you.
This isn't even in reference to international students. This is just in reference to students in general. I have been in classes where, for instance, a comment was made why the students come off of the Navajo reservation or don't do as well in college. And a student raised his hand and said, well, I think they're just lazy. And another student said, well, there are places on the reservation don't even have electricity. He said, well, they could get a laptop and do online classes. And I sat there and thought to myself, there's this, I don't know what the word is, egocentrism, something, there's a fancy word for it. there's this general, I am an American and I come from Mesa, and I see students that can't look outside of that. They can't say, hey, I'm sitting next to someone who came from a war-torn country here to get an education, and they wear their cultural clothing, and they're trying to hold on to their own culture, and they're sitting right next to me. Let me speak to them. Let me learn about their culture. Let me learn what they came through to get here. I don't see a lot of that. I see a lot of people, he's in this culture group, she's here. I wish we could all try to move college towards being that melting pot that we talk about, but we don't engage in every day. I would like to see more acceptance of culture. I would like to see groups on campus where I could go right now and say, I want to learn about the Middle Eastern culture. So I'm going to go to the Middle East culture group and sit with them and learn about them. But I don't see these groups on campus. I don't see different cultural groups. I don't see groups that are designed for gender issues, transgender issues. I wish we had more groups, and I wish students could move towards enjoying, like you say all the time, talking to someone who's 60 years old, talking to someone who just got out of high school like this young lady, learn different perspectives. I think we need to encourage that in the classroom. I really do.
Folks, we're going to wrap up this focus group, and I want to say thank you for attending. I know it's early in the morning. I know after Halloween, I know that's kind of tough for some of you guys. But I want to say thank you for allowing us to ask you questions, and thank you for listening. Greatly appreciate it. Now, before you leave, I say this like in all my classes. Make sure you carry yourself with class and dignity. Take care of yourself, and peace to you.